Welcome to 0 to 60. Matt McChesney. I am the owner and operator of 6 0 Football Academy and 6 0 Equipment. Played at the University of Colorado from 2004. 6 years in the National Football League on both sides of the football.
That was his dream to play for Colorado.
And McChesney grew up in Colorado, always wanted to be a Buffalo, has had a great career.
I'm Matt McChesney. This is 0 to 60. That is Coach Prime. We're at the University of Colorado. Brother, thank you so much. What's happening? Happy Wednesday. Sorry about yesterday not being on the show. Duty calls. We had a lot of shit going on. It just didn't work out. I am Matt McChesney. This is 0 to 60. Bailey's on the ones and the fucking twos as usual. We got big shit popping here in 2026, and we got a lot to talk about here today on today's show. Beat writer and CU great, and that's what I said, CU great, because he is. Brian Howell is going to be joining the show at 1:30 to talk about the transfer portal, and perceivably, from what I can gather, the University of Colorado absolutely kicking its ass. There's still some holes, and there's still a lot of holes to be filled, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the new additions, some of the stuff we've seen online about Coach Prime handpicking each player, and these guys aren't there for the bag and things of that nature, which is good to hear. As last year's group, I think a lot of those guys were here for the bag, and we saw how that worked out. We have a shit ton to talk about. We got about 25, 30 minutes to chop up some of the non-CU big-time stories before Brian comes on. We'll keep him on for about 20, and we'll try and get everybody out of here real quick in an hour. So, again, 0 to 60 fucking rolls. Remember, everyone, you can follow everybody at 6 0 Academy, at 0 to 60, at Bailey Price Media, Bailey's other page. It's got 2 Instagram pages and the Twitter page. Make sure you follow Bailey. And then also subscribe, or the subs and the super chats are open. Nick needs new shoes. So any support there, we would greatly, greatly appreciate. And look, a lot of good shit's happening here on the show. We'll have a couple announcements here in February and March about the future of the show that we're pretty excited about. But hey, neither here nor there. We got the playoffs starting tomorrow night and a lot to talk about. So, Bailey, let's fucking roll, homie.
Matt, let's roll. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back, 0 to 60, the premier show for Colorado Buffaloes football coverage. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and I can't wait to have Brian Howell join the show. Longtime beat writer. Been covering Colorado for a long, long time. Can't wait to get his insight. Matt, let's dive into stuff. And before we dive into stuff across college football, NFL, Ravens fired John Harbaugh, DeMond Williams enters the transfer portal while Sam Levitt's sitting with Lane Kiffin at a basketball game. Unreal. But, Matt, first, I want to address business with you and 6 0 Academy. Kind of talk about what's been going on. You had the Oregon's director of player personnel come through 6 0 Academy, and I think that went pretty well. You want to kind of give some background behind this before we keep going?
Yeah, contact period started on the 5th, which was Monday. Monday afternoon, Oregon was in the house. So just look, I know there's a lot of people who hate Oregon because it's the CU connection, and I get it. I didn't play against Oregon in college, but once we played them in the Fiesta Bowl in 2001. I was suspended for the game. That sucked. But they fucked us up. But I of course want CU to beat Oregon when they play. Didn't happen often. I'm a huge Dan Lanning fan. He's a personal friend, a guy I've known forever. And I absolutely love that man. I think he's awesome. So, I'm picking Oregon and Miami for the Natty. I think it's going to be awesome in Miami. And look, the fact that Coach Dean and everybody at his staff were so open to, look, I called Dan on Saturday, left him a message. He texted me back Sunday, and Monday afternoon, Coach Dean's in my office for 3 hours. So it was an awesome experience. This isn't new. Anybody that follows 6-0 knows that this is what we do. Contact period. And when the coaches are in town, they get off the plane and jump in their car and drive to 6-0 and go, where should I go? And I hand them about 40 resumes, all that paperwork in his hand right there. That's all the kids that we went over. I hand him resumes. He goes and bam, all of a sudden he's at Creek, and then he's at Valor, and then he's at Mullen, and then he's here, and then he's there. And it was a great meeting. Extremely aggressive. They know what they're looking for. They're hard to get an offer out of. But at the same time, when you've got Roper and Reese and Nick and Moon and Caleb Camping and Ryland Tinsdale and Post and all these Devin West and all these big dogs in there, and they perform at the level that they did on Monday. And I had Breck and Oliver Miller and those guys come in because it was Breck's last day before he went to SC, and Ollie's about to go to K-State, and Deacon's about to go to Oklahoma, and I wanted them to set the tone. And it was an incredible evening, and it really started off the contact period the right way. We've got 5 more schools coming in this week and a bunch set up for next week, and it just keeps rolling, bro. On top of that, I'm talking with Brian Jordan right now, the pass rush specialist, BT Jordan. He works with the Broncos hand in hand. So we're talking about maybe doing some camps over the summer because he's going to be out here, and little O-line versus D-line action there. And we'll have him on the show next week, hopefully, to talk about what he's done with the Broncos, leading the league in sacks this year and being an outside coach on the inside. But yeah, look, this was awesome, and hats off to Coach Dean for coming in and doing his job. And I'm not shocked at all when I see the way that Oregon recruits and how they bag the quality players that they do, because it is a very, we'll put it like this. There's some coaches that come in, sit down, shake hands, take the resumes, get up and leave. And it's very business. And that's cool. It's cool. When you take time, it matters, and relationships matter in this business. So it was awesome. And I would not be surprised if there's some offers going out to Colorado guys from the University of Oregon here shortly. And I also wouldn't be surprised if there's about 20 of us at Eugene's camp this year, because he invited pretty much the whole goddamn group. So, yeah, pretty pumped. And I'm pulling for Oregon pretty hard in the playoff game this week.
Shout out to Dan Lanning in Oregon. I think he's built a monster up there. I do think IU and Signetti are going to beat him in a shootout, but it's good to see Matt, 6-0 Academy, Oregon, doing business. Speaking of Breck Cool J, Matt, you sent me this. They're making reels of Breck at IMG. Take a look at this.
Man,
just watch this, folks.
I don't condone that behavior, but that's why I play football, to make other people quit.
If you're in my way, like, I'm pancaking you.
You want to hit somebody today?
Come on, man. There's a bear crap in the woods. Oh, heavy metal, grunge metal.
Let's go, baby. You're saying, man. This that shit. Metallica, baby, all day. Metallica.
Shout out to Breck. That was at what was that? The Under Armour.
That was at the Under Armour All-American game practices and shit. Look, I posted something on Twitter today where I was like, "Look, dog, I love coaching you, but fuck, I wish I could get in the Wayback Machine and Acer do some motherfucker with you on the field." Like this, there's kindred spirits out there. You feel me? Like there's guys that's one of the reasons I love football so much. Like the way I got along with my defensive line coach in college.
Yeah.
Fucking Metallica, baby. Yeah. The way I got along with Coach Wilson in college, who, his son Caleb was Mr. Irrelevant, great tight end at UCLA, and now he's a coach at Washington and killing it, and it's full circle there. We're going to talk about another full circle moment here with Casey Roddick in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's kindred spirits. There's guys who play football, and there's guys who I love, and then they do their course and go play, and then they're in the business world and whatnot. And I see them every now and then, and it's like, hey, good to see you. This sumbitch is like Dave and Diane. You guys have raised a fucking savage, and I'm so glad that I got a part of it because he's the kind of guy I just want to be around. He's the kind of guy I want to coach. He's the kind of guy I want to fucking go play with. And he is straight business and all wartime. And it's just when you get a 14-year-old frame with big goals, okay, and he walks into your office and sits down and goes, hey, coach, I'm Breck. I'm 14. I'm going to Valor next year. And I want to play in the NFL. It's my goal to be the best player in the world. And everyone says that shit. And then 6 years later, this is what you get. Fuck, man. It puts a huge smile on my face. And he's not the only one. Obviously, we got a fucking army of guys that are just like this. But Rex he's a fucking unique dude, bro. And he is the kind of guy that if you're a quarterback, you want this motherfucker in front of you. And if you're a D lineman, better buckle up, Buttercup, because 6'6" is coming. And I'll say this. There's not very many like true freshman linemen that I think can go in and just immediately affect the culture and the atmosphere of an offensive line room, especially in today's world. I think the exact opposite here. I think that the early enrollment of Brett Coolj at USC, I think he's ready to play on top of the 7 or 8 months he's going to get with Coach and Coach Riley and Coach Hansen and then the whole unit out there at SC. And I would not be surprised at all if he's starting as a true freshman at center for SC next year. As he's the smartest guy in the room. He is fucking unbelievable as a leader. He gives a fuck about ball. Let's just watch this one more time and fucking listen to just how it just progressively gets to the point where he's like, I got my headphones on now, and now I'm going to kill everyone. It just makes me want to fucking punch the computer screen. So let's do this again.
As a grown man, I don't condone that behavior, but that's why I play football, to make other people quit.
If you're in my way, like, I'm pancaking you.
You want to hit somebody today?
Come on, man. There's a bear crap in the woods. Oh, heavy metal, grunge metal.
Let's go, baby. You're saying, man. This that shit. Metallica, baby, all day. Metallica.
It's the fucking perfect goddamn video for 6'6". On Monday night, dude, we're about to do sleds. I'm like, hey, everybody, we're going to do sleds. And Breck's like, something right, bitch, let's go. Wow. And I'm like, okay, let's go. We're ready. So, yeah, man, I'm pretty proud of my boy. And he's off to college. And I'm not going to lie, it was a little emotional saying goodbye to him on Monday night. So it's not goodbye. It's just see you later. And deuces up, brother. I can't wait to come see you in LA.
Yeah, go kick ass for Lincoln Riley. Matt, let's go to the next one. Full circle moment. Former CU, former FSU O-lineman Casey Roddick promoted offensive analyst, Georgia State. What do you got to say about this? Congratulations to Casey.
Bro, what do I have to say about this? Casey Roddick, another guy I've been working with since the minute he walked into Boulder. I didn't know him in high school. He's from Cali, but just an unbelievable player for CU at guard and a great leader and went through a lot of really shitty teams, but was a great player. Transferred to Florida State when they went 13-0. Jordan Travis broke his leg. The season didn't end well. Didn't really get a chance to play in the league and decided to go straight into coaching. So he GA'd at Georgia State and called me about a month ago and he goes, hey, I got the head job. And I was like, fuck yeah, Casey, like freaking out in my car. He's like, can't tell anybody. And I'm like, dude, I won't say shit until they say it. So they finally put out the promotion tweet and everything, and which is awesome. So that's a full circle moment for me as one of my guys. Now that's the first guy to be like a position coach, right? And this is going to happen more because there's a lot more guys coming up and a lot more guys in the machine. But haven't quit for Casey, and I'm not surprised. You know, he's a great buff and was a great Seminole and is an unbelievable fucking worker and a great coach, and his guys love him down there. They wouldn't have promoted him this early if they didn't. And then on top of that, after Casey gets the job, Now we got Dungeon Family playing for Dungeon Family as Connor Jones goes down and commits to Georgia State in Atlanta. And Connor played at Michigan, obviously, and he committed to Coach Casey and what they got going down there at Georgia State for his last year to go down and play tackle. So you got Dungeon Family coaching Dungeon Family set up by the Dungeon Family. So it's just it's what we do here, bro. This is the army that I talk about. So again, I'm going to take a huge group of guys down to Georgia State this year and go down to Atlanta and go to that camp and go watch my boys work and watch my guy Casey work and just sit there and like relish the hard work and how long it's taken to get there. So hats off to Casey Roddick. Great buff, unbelievable opportunity for him. And hats off to Connor Jones. Signing at Georgia State too. That's a fucking big time move. Esquire, Clay Barnett, Chad, myself, got to pat myself on the back here because they're not here, but everybody did a really good job there. Tyreek Byard got a really good deal and a great opportunity at Texas A&M, who also took Davis Swain. God damn it. Yeah. I know we fortified with really good players, but I still don't like losing really good core guys on the team, especially if they're going to A&M. I mean, I think they're good enough to play in Boulder if they're good enough to play at College Station. So this is awesome. And Casey, you bad motherfucker. This is why we grind, homeboy. I'm so goddamn proud of you.
Shout out to Casey, promoted offensive analyst, Georgia State, former CU, FSU lineman. Matt, let's move forward here. We got a lot to discuss, but before we do, the people in the chat complaining about us addressing this. This is Matt's show. We're gonna highlight.
Excuse me, everyone in the chat. I will talk about whatever the fuck I want the entire time, and you will listen, or you can get off.
Yeah,
this is about 6-0. It says 0 to 60 up there, motherfucker. It doesn't say Jim Bob show about fucking ball bearings and incest. Shut your mouth.
Let's dive into some college news here before our main man Brian Howell joins the show here. Let's start with this here because I can't wait to get your take on this. I think you and your position as you representing all the stuff you do at Esquire and whatnot. I'm really curious to see what your comments are on this situation. So let's start at the beginning. Washington quarterback Damon Williams. So he entered the transfer portal. He's entered the portal with a do not contact tag. This happened while Lane Kiffin.
Look at this one. Do you? You're banned. You think you pay my fucking bills, homeboy? I ain't seen you fucking put shit in the goddamn station over. You think this is the other thing? You guys actually think I make money on this fucking show? I do this shit. You want to talk about Hobby Town? Like, we are building the fuck out of this, and we have been for years. So I appreciate the fact that you think you pay my bills and shit. But again, it's just hilarious to me. The people in the chat and what they say, it's pretty fucking funny, honestly.
That motherfucker's gone. All right,
we
Matt.
paid your bills.
Matt, let's dive.
Sorry, Bailey.
All good. Damon Williams, star Washington quarterback, who I thought had a pretty decent year this past season up in Montlake under Jeff Fish. He entered the portal with the do not contact tag. He entered the portal while Lane Kiffin, Sam Levitt, and Eugene Wilson III, Florida transfer receiver who committed to LSU. They're all sitting courtside at LSU basketball game. And so this is interesting because Damon signed what they're saying is a legally binding revenue share contract with Washington. And they're planning to enforce this contract with
as
Damon.
They should.
5 days ago, he signed it. 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
It was 5 days ago?
Yeah, it was last week. So
he's already at LSU getting another fucking contract?
Let me finish. So they're planning to pursue legal avenues, been in contact with the Big Ten officials who draft revenue sharing contracts for its league members. And obviously, you had the Xavier Lucas situation where he transferred to Miami from Wisconsin after signing the Wisconsin thing. The players and staff reportedly found out on Twitter and Instagram while they were at a funeral for a UW soccer player who passed away, and Big 12 or Big 10 officials were there as well. So that's really sad and also horrible timing, terrible look for Williams. Now, Williams in his transfer portal announcement said at the end, "I have to do what's best for me in my future." Matt, the rumors are, rumors are you getting $4 million a year from UW. Rumors are LSU's offering $6 million. He hasn't officially, from what I understanding, I don't think Washington's officially put his papers in to even let him enter the portal. But according to Matt Zenites, LSU is expected to be a team to watch. Shocking for DeMont Williams. Since then, also Sam Levitt is set to visit Knoxville out here and visit Tennessee this week. So, Matt, where are you at with all this? I mean, you have much more insight on how this all works than even I do. Take it away.
Okay, so yes, if you're in the position to hold the hammer, you should swing it. That's true. That said, when you've made a commitment to someone, there's nothing more low character, in my opinion, as a man, than going back on your word. If I tell Bailey, I'm gonna give you this, this, and this, and you're gonna do this, this, and this, and we're gonna team up and do a show. And then 3 months into it, I'm like, fuck you. I'm only giving you a third of what I was gonna give you. Or Bailey's like, fuck you, I'm leaving. And I'm not gonna hand over all the information or whatever. That's some coward bullshit that I wouldn't expect.
Facts.
This is a terrible look for the kid. Like, the only way to overcome this is to be the baddest motherfucker alive. Like, you better be the baddest motherfucking quarterback alive, and you better go to LSU and start immediately, because right now you just look like a bag chasing fucking punk. And I understand that there's no rules, and I understand that contracts don't mean shit anymore, although Washington's about to sue you. So you're going to find out just how the courts work, because they think contracts are binding. Just saying. There's a part of me that wants Ole Miss to win it all just to make Lane Kiffin look like a fucking douchebag, but that means Miami has to lose, and I picked them. And I also want to see everybody win. All four of these teams could win, and I wouldn't care. This is a bad look, and do I think that football is broken? Yes, to a point. I think it's easily fixable, though, with scheduling, like we've talked about. The schedule obviously isn't conducive towards growth of the player or the programs. But also, I think this is very fixable by just, number one, the NCAA or the schools making tampering a death penalty offense. So once you sign, you can't tamper with other people under contract, and then actually having contracts. Instead of everybody being on a one-year deal, you know what I'm saying? Which is pretty much what all of these are. They're all one-year contracts. Every high school kid signing a one-year contract, every college guy signing a one-year contract, because they can just go back in and renegotiate whenever they want. That's not really the way it works in life anywhere. So not only are they setting the Wild Wild West precedent, but they are setting when I get into the real world, even though I'm not a football player anymore, I'm just going to hold my boss hostage every fucking 12 months. And they're going to get fired a lot because every boss is going to go, get fucked, bro. You have a contract. So I think that there should be, a lot of different things happening here with the structure. And I'm in the business. I make 3% on the guys that I represent. But I don't like the way the business runs. I don't like the agents that try and get 15 or 20% because there's no regulation. I think you're scumbags. I don't think that like throwing away your intestinal fortitude and your character as a man and your word is not worth any amount of money. Not having any tampering rules is one of the biggest problems, because guys can just get plucked and fucked with at any time when they're under contract somewhere else, which is exactly what's happening here. If I was Washington, I would never talk to this kid again. Ever. Like, this is a huge red flag for me. I don't care how good you are. There's nothing that can really justify this kind of shit to me. Considering he just got 4 fucking days ago, you signed for $4 million, and 4 days later, after Washington's like, we got our quarterback of the future for $4 million, and all of a sudden now he's at LSU at a fucking game and they're offering him $6 million. Is he going to give back the $4 million? He probably doesn't have to. You know what I'm saying? You already got the money. Have fun getting it back.
Get out of your piece. Like, goddamn.
And we're going to talk Buffs at 1:30 with Brian Howell, you dickless piece of shit. Shut the fuck up. So this is a bigger problem than just Colorado. This is college football.
Yeah,
the problem
exactly.
that has done it. So I think that there's a way to do this and still keep your character and integrity, very similar to the NFL. I take 3% because the NFL number's 3.5 and we're not in the league. And a kid who's getting $1 million after Uncle Sam and a 20% tax by his agent who really didn't do shit. I mean, look, we do a lot, but let's be real. The kid can play. That's why he's getting paid.
Facts.
And it's not hard to fucking show a good coach, a good player, and everybody goes, oh, this is going to work. Like it's pretty much the easiest fucking thing on earth. It's almost as easy as fucking going to the strip club and maybe seeing some titties. So I think that there's a lot to fix here, and this is just another example. It's like the example I think I sent you about the CU donor, the anonymous CU donor. I wish you would put your name on it, but the CU donor who wrote a big check and the guy's already gone. He's all pissed off. That happened to Troy Aikman. Now here's the story. You can read it.
So apparently longtime Colorado booster is expressing his frustration with funding payments to players who have no loyalty to the program. You give them that check and the guy's gone tomorrow. To hell with that. That ain't happening to me. No allegiance, no money. How many schools are going to have trouble with donors to start feeling the same way? Interesting, man. That's it.
And I think it happens.
I mean, yeah, this isn't just a CU problem, but yeah, now it's
you know, like, and people in the chat that are like, justify the 3%. Again, there's agents charging 20 that are just
charging more than 20
people left and right. The NFL number is 3.5%. That's what the 3% comes from. It's all found money. No one pays us up front. We have to go do our job in order to get paid. That's the way all this works, folks. Again, I'm sorry you work for the sanitation department or some shit and no one gives a fuck about your job. But at the same time, like, this is the way it works. So this is also another huge problem. You know, people who are contributing to NIL funds and trying to get guys in the building and want to help pay for the players, deep pocket rich motherfuckers who I wish CU had more of them. We need an oil baron or some like the weed fucking the weed goddamn captain of Colorado come out and start contributing to the fucking NIL fund. Doesn't really matter. It's all legal. I don't care where the money comes from as long as we're using it correctly. So if we have to Pablo Escobar this motherfucker, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
He did own a soccer team.
Yeah.
Didn't go very well, but they won before. I feel like there's lots of problems that can be fixed, but I propose this question to everyone. Do you think they want to fix it? I don't think they want to fix it. I don't think the NCAA wants to fix it. I think the coaches bitch and moan about the process, but they're not, other than a couple of them, I'm not really hearing a lot of people consistently harp on the fact that it needs to be changed. It just kind of is what it is, which doesn't mean is what it is means you don't really give a shit. You're going to just deal with what's happening, not try and fix it. The players definitely don't want to fix it. The agents don't want to fix it. You don't even have to be a fucking registered lawyer or an agent to be an agent, which is incredible to me. So college used to be about checks and balances, and now it's about, you know, I don't want to get sued by, and I don't want the Supreme Court in our backyard going through files. So everybody just do whatever the fuck you want. I don't see how it's going to work in the long run, but hey, man, you know, there's 9,000 kids or so in the transfer portal. That's about a third of college football altogether. So it's either going to work or it ain't. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that it is. And we'll dive into more NFL news, coach firings, John Harbaugh, and we're going to dive into all the coach openings, Matt, towards the end of the show. But it is time for our main man. We got our special guest in the house to break down all Colorado Buffaloes football news here, and I can't wait to dive into it with them. I got several questions for him. I know Matt does as well. Our main man, longtime Colorado Buffaloes beat writer, the Colorado Buffaloes beat writer, our main man, Brian Howell, joins the show. Brian, happy Wednesday. How you doing, my man? Thank you for joining.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. There's no way you guys have questions for me. You have nothing, right?
What's up, dog? How's life?
Good. How are you guys doing? How was your holiday?
Dog. It was awesome. How was your Christmas? Yeah. Family good?
It was good. Yeah. Went up to northern Minnesota where my wife's from, and got actually some snow. So
hey, nice. It was 75 degrees here, and I was in candles, and I just hope the state doesn't burn down this year because there's no snowpack anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, BH.
I had a 70-degree Christmas last year in San Antonio.
Nice.
For the Alamo Bowl. So.
Nice Alamo Bowl. All right, we'll let Bailey start here. And then I'll dive in. But I know he's got some questions. And thanks for coming on the show, bro. I know you're a busy guy right now. There's a lot going on up in Boulder. So let's roll, B.
Well, BH, can't thank you enough for joining. Let's start with Fernando Lovo, and then we'll dive into transfer portal, coaching moves, etc. But he's officially arrived in Boulder. Obviously met with Coach Prime the other day. Where are you at with this hire? What the future of Colorado athletics, their relationship between him and Coach Prime? Where are you at with all this in this hire?
Yeah, really like this guy. And, I had a chance to chat with him, twice last week before the press conference. And, full disclosure here, they gave me an interview with him over Zoom and it didn't record. And so I lost the interview, and he was gracious enough to call me and give me a phone interview and kind of redo it. And he was awesome, and just real personable guy, but also really bright, really sharp guy. I think anybody that watched the press conference saw that. I knew from 5 minutes into talking to him that this guy's going to win the press conference, and he absolutely did. Now you got to go out and do the job. And he's got a lot of experience, just 37 years old, only 1 year as an AD, but he's got a lot of admin experience at Texas, where he worked under Chris Del Conte, who was, nationally known as one of the top ADs in the country. He and Rick George actually have a common thread with him. Rick and Chris are pretty close. So he's worked under Urban Meyer. He's worked under Jeremy Foley at Florida and Gene Smith at Ohio State. So he's worked under some of the icons of this sport. And so he's bright. He's got a lot of really good ideas. Now you got to go implement them. And that's going to be the hard part. As we know at Colorado, there's challenges. So now he's got to implement them, but he sounds really good.
So look, only been an AD for a year. I don't really think that matters. He's been in the ranks, climbing the ladder to be an AD. So all that time matters, in my opinion, too. That's where he really built all the relationships. Coach Eck down at New Mexico, he was a CU guy way, way, way back in the day. One of his first opportunities, and he speaks really, really highly of the new athletic director. My question is this. I feel like Coach Prime and Rick George had a very friendly relationship, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Coach Prime works for Rick, and Rick works for the university, and there's hierarchy there. But, Coach Prime can do whatever he wants. I mean, this is Coach Prime U, and that's cool. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying what it is. Do you see more checks and balances, or do you see a 39-year-old first-time athletic director coming in and being a little enamored with the fact that he's now Coach Prime's boss? I mean, that's a big role. So how do you see that relationship going moving forward?
Yeah, I don't think Lovo is going to be, kind of starstruck and enamored with, being over Deion Sanders. I think they're going to work together well. I think it's important to note that Rick George is still going to be involved with the football program. When I talked to Rick the other day, I asked him, well, what's that going to look like? He said, that depends on what Fernando wants. But Rick said, I know football wants me involved. So there's what I took that as is there might be kind of that go-between. Rick might be the go-between Coach Prime and Fernando Lovo. So I think it's going to work well together. I think Lovo comes in with that fresh set of eyes, and hopefully there are some checks and balances. And I think there were with Rick as well. But I think when you bring in a fresh set of eyes, there's going to be a few more of those. Definitely, I think in a lot of ways, Coach Prime is going to get what Coach Prime wants. And but I think that the AD, having two of them there for the next few months, I think is going to be a good thing.
All right. So fundraising has always been an issue in Boulder. You know how I feel about this. I think that they cry poor a lot, but they're far from broke. I'm from fucking Boulder. I grew up there. If CU's broke, okay, well, we can have that talk. From a fundraising standpoint, what do you think he needs to focus on first?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think you've got to reach donors, which, Sean Keeler, I know he's a bad name around my Buff Nation, but he had a story the other day.
All he did was his job.
All he did was his job. He had a story the other day where he talked to donors, and whatever you want to say about Sean Keeler, these are donors that were speaking, right? And they're saying, look, I'm kind of tired of writing these checks, and then the players leave. So there's
talking about this.
there's donor fatigue, and so I don't think that Fernando Lovo can just rely on that. I think that naming rights has got to be a top priority for him. I think Folsom Field needs a corporate sponsorship, right? I think while maybe people don't want to call it something other than Folsom Field, it needs to be United Airlines Stadium
at Folsom Field.
Right. It has to be. They've got to do something like that. When I
could they name it Starbud Stadium at Folsom Field?
Actually, I didn't hear what you I didn't hear what you said the first time, but I don't know if that would go over that well.
Hey man, Texas Tech is using oil money. We got to use our oil. Our oil is green. Their oil is black. That's all right. I'm saying.
It is different oil. That's for sure. Yeah, I think that's a big part. When I first talked to Fernando, he told me, he said, "Look, we have these beautiful facilities," and he goes, "To me, when I look at these facilities, an empty parking lot is no money coming through the door." He goes, "I want our facilities full." 365, and obviously that's impossible, but what he's talking about is let's get concerts at Folsom, let's get events going on at the event center that bring in money, because look, I'm up at the event center today. I had to do some women's basketball interviews, and the place is empty. There's I think Utah men's basketball was in there practicing for their game tonight, but basically it's empty. There's a lot of times you can drive up there when it's not basketball season and it's just a ghost town up there. He doesn't want that. He wants events there. Events bring in a lot of money. I mean, when they have a concert at Folsom, they're bringing in 7 figures of profit. So that's why they're trying to get more of those. And so Fernando's big on that. I think those are going to be huge for them. Corporate sponsorships, naming everything, every piece of property they have is huge. We saw that Ford is now on the practice facility. They want to name the event center, they want to name Folsom. There's all these things they want to do. I think those are huge. I know it's a long answer, but I think that's where he's got to start, is those few things right there.
First band that you would want to see in Folsom at night on a Friday in the summer.
Well, I'm biased, but Metallica.
Fuck yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that was good. This show, Brett.
He'll go up there, and fucking rock the house out.
Are you kidding me? I mean, Metallica with the flat irons in the background.
Holy shit, bro, that would fucking. I think I paid $1,000 just to go fucking see the show.
I don't have $1,000, but I'd find it because that'd be awesome.
Fucking A, with NIL that bitch. All right, Brian, let's get into these transactions. Obviously, they lost a lot of young talent.
Yeah.
But they have definitely fortified with the guys they brought in up to this point. I still think they need about 35 more guys, and so do they. But the ones they brought in are legitimate. Yes, some of them group of 6 players, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
But they all have tape. They all have stats. They all have starts. They all have like pelts on the wall. And you know how I feel about this, bro. I am a huge believer that there's so many guys at the 1AA and like group of 5 level that could and should be playing Power 4 football, but some fucking 247 guy didn't rank him high enough, or some on-3 guy didn't rank him high enough, or he went to a small high school, or he got overlooked, or he didn't go to the right camp. And this gives these guys an opportunity to jump to a higher level. It's good to see CU focusing more on production than potential, in my opinion, because potential in the transfer portal is pretty tricky as they're already like 2-3 years in. Tell me how you feel about the group they brought in so far, and then we'll start focusing on some of the individuals.
Yeah, real quick, just to go off your point, I chatted with Dylan Manuel, the defensive lineman from App State. He was telling me when he started high school, he was a running back. So, I mean, how long has that guy played defensive line before he goes to college? So, no wonder he doesn't have a whole lot of, offers. And, sometimes these guys also, maybe they didn't have the best grades in high school, so they have to go a lower level because they couldn't get into, a CU or an Ohio State or something like that. So yeah, I think blanket, Matt, when I look at this, there's a couple ways you can go with it. One is they've got guys that are productive, right? Now, there's a lot of all conference guys. I've pointed that out on Twitter. I think it's 9 guys out of the 15 or 16 were all conference. At the same time, we've seen this before. And I don't want to be a downer. I just want to be the realist here. Let's look at last year. They brought in the Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year at quarterback. They brought in all conference wide receiver and Sincere Brown. DeKalen Taylor was all conference. Your linebackers last year, Martavius French, Reginald Hughes, were all conference linebackers. These guys didn't all pan out. So
no, they did not.
I'm not trying to be a down. I'm just trying to be the realist here and say these guys aren't going to all pan out. Now, I will say this, that Coach Prime has talked about making sure you get the right guys. And he's also talked about how he wasn't there for a lot of this last year because of his health stuff.
Well, there's our next question.
And I was listening. He was on with Neely and Chico today, and I was listening to that before we started here. And he was talking about, look, I've been hands on with every one of these guys, and it's all about trying to find the right guys that fit us. And Coach Prime was very open about the fact they didn't find those guys last year. They whiffed on a lot of guys last year. He's talking about these guys maybe fit them more, and so I want to trust that. I want to trust the people that are there evaluating and bringing them in, and say, yeah, I'm excited to see them. But I've also seen a lot of this before, where a lot of these guys that make this move don't pan out because sometimes they are in the FBS or I mean the FCS because that's their level of talent, you know, and sometimes they come here and it's like, yeah, he's not a Big 12 player. You know, so there's going to be a mixed bag, I guess, is my long-winded point there, is that some of these guys are going to be able to play. Some of them are going to get here and it's going to be like, this guy can't play.
Talking about Marion, I've been in constant contact with the new OC, quarterback coach, the go-go offense innovator. I texted him yesterday. He wrote me back at 9:57. I've been recruiting from 6 a.m. till 11. I'm going to take a 3-hour nap and get up and go back to work. And I'm like, fuck yes, you are. That's what I'm talking about. Kids seem to love him. Coaches seem to trust him. He's walked in and acclimated to this place perfectly. And I think he's got a lot of say and responsibility, which is a good thing for a young coach. Run with that.
Well, first off, I liked Pat Shurmur and liked talking to him, but could you imagine having that text with Pat Shurmur where he said, man, I've been recruiting all day.
Nope.
The previous OC didn't recruit, right?
Didn't do shit.
Yeah, and that's the way the structure was.
The offensive coordinated, but he didn't do any recruiting. He didn't have any connections.
Correct. Yeah, and I'm not sure how much recruiting is being done among the staff. Because
I think Corey Phillips was. Wait a second, he didn't do a damn thing. Never mind. Keep going.
Well, I think my point is I think a lot of it was up to the recruiting staff, right? And for years, forever, recruiting has been the position coaches and the coordinators. They're on the road and they're actually doing that work, right? And so I think a lot of it was recruiting staff. I think it's refreshing to see Brennan Marion come in, a guy that loves recruiting and is passionate about it. A, because I think it's vital, but B, because you want him to bring guys in that fit his offense, right? I want him to look at a guy not only on tape, but when the guy comes to visit Boulder and say, yep, you fit the go-go offense. You're the running back I need. You're the receiver I need. You're a tight end I need. And so that's what I like about that, is he's more hands-on with that than what we've seen. And I'll say, I don't think Shurmur was asked to do that, but I think, but I love that Marion is doing it. He's passionate about it. I love that.
And it's good to see Coach Box empowered too. Because
Yeah.
I feel like Coach Box was kind of hamstrung. There were times where I would communicate with him and I could tell that, like, he'd be like, yeah, I'll get back to you. And probably what he went and ran by Corey didn't go over well. And he would come back and be like, yeah, we're going to have to do that another time. And he'd be like disgruntled about it almost. So it's really good to see him empowered, because I think he's a really, really good fit up there as well.
Yeah, and I think Coach Prime trusts him, obviously. It didn't take long. As soon as Corey left, what happened? Box was elevated, and so
Exactly.
he didn't need to go out and find somebody. He had the guy right in place there. I think that helps, that there's continuity with that recruiting staff. And some people look at it and look at this last year's team and say, blow it all up. But no, I think just because it didn't go well last year doesn't mean there's not a lot of good people up there that just needed to, like you said, be unhindered a little bit and do their job the way they want to do it.
Well, look, I think it was kind of blown up just naturally. You know, like people left the coaching staff that weren't supposed to be here anymore, and players left. And yeah, it sucks seeing guys leave, especially young ones. But as Brian has said, I love your tweet. You're like, look, I don't even give a shit about the transfer portal anymore. I just want to see who's on the team in March. So look, there's a lot to dissect there. Bailey, let's get into the roster and some of these players that we brought in and hit BH with a good question.
No doubt. BH, can't thank you enough for joining. Where are you at with these transfers? Colorado's got about 16 transfers in right now. So names that kind of stick out. Cam Perry coming from Miami, Ohio. You got Danny Scudero, led the nation in receiving yards coming from San Jose State. You got a couple transfers coming from Sac State and Brennan Marion's guys. You got the kid from JMU, had a pick against Oregon college football playoff. Kid from North Dakota State, who I think could be a replacement for London Merritt, which is an unfortunate loss. But where you at? Some of these favorite transfers in, transfers out. Where you at with all that?
Yeah, I think it's a good group. I mean, like I was giving you some of my skepticism a little bit and my analysts a little bit that these guys aren't going to all pan out, but you have to like the fact that these guys are ballers. I mean, they know how to play the game of football, right? And they can play at the college level. They've proven themselves, whether it's at a G6 or an FCS level. I'm excited for guys like that to see what they can do. When I was talking to Dylan Manuel, he talked about himself and other guys are super ready to come in and prove themselves. They feel maybe they were overlooked, or maybe they had to, prove themselves at a lower level first, and now they're ready, and that's, Matt, when you're a player, when you're at Niwot High School, you can't wait to get to the University of Colorado and prove that you can ball out in the Big 8 or Big 12. It was Big 12, right?
Amen to that.
And when you left Colorado, you couldn't wait to prove yourself in the NFL. And so, that's what these guys are looking forward to doing. I mean, everybody that's at those lower levels aspires to being up here. And so now they got to prove themselves. And I think last year, a lot of those guys, maybe they got that, check and they were satisfied. I don't know. There was hinting at some of that, right?
Maybe.
I'm trying to be nice there, Matt.
I'm not trying to be nice. I'll tell you this, Old Miss, good luck trying to motivate that big piece of shit you just paid Otis. Have fun with that, because if he shut it down in Boulder, a whole fort. What's 800,000 divided by 4?
200,000.
That's $200,000 a tackle. Fuck yeah, baby, you did a great job.
And I'll tell you this: divided by 4, you can go get 4 defensive tackles for $200,000 each.
Fucking A, and they'll all probably be better than 4 tackles. Holy shit!
And I'll say this about the 2 linebackers they got. You look at their profiles; they're very, very similar to what Martavius French and Reginald Hughes had last year. Okay, so Martavius French comes in; he was second team all conference, top 10 in the nation with 17 tackles for loss his previous school. This kid Lampron, all conference, top 10 in the nation with 17.5 tackles for loss. Profile the same, right? Reginald Hughes, first team all Sun Belt. Second team all Sun Belt that same year was Tyler Martinez, the new linebacker. So you look at it and say, all right, similar. But I don't want to scare you with that. I think these 2 guys coming in, they're different. Both of them, I talked to people from their previous schools. They were both phenomenal leaders. They were the guys that were vocal in the locker room, guys that, were, Lampron was I can't remember where he was before Bowling Green. He was at Bowling Green 1 year. He was voted a captain as a senior coming in for his first year. So that says a lot about the kid when you're voted captain just coming into the school. Plus his middle name is ESPN. So
is it ESPN?
Yeah. Right. So I like the linebackers. We'll see if they can play at this level, but I love what they bring. Everything I've heard about them is they're big time leaders. They were missing that in the middle. Well, they were missing that everywhere, but especially in the middle of that defense, right? There was no leadership last year. You look at these defensive linemen and edge guys, there's a bunch of all conference guys, and whether it's FCS All-American or all conference guys, these guys are proven they can play. Who's the other one? The safety. Nathan Mitchell from New Mexico State. Okay, he played with Martinez at New Mexico State, right? The guy at New Mexico State told me that when the linebacker got hurt 4 games in, it was Mitchell who stepped up as the leader, and he was the most vocal guy in the locker room when the linebacker was out. So they brought in leaders. They're bringing in guys who can ball, and they're bringing in leaders. They didn't have any leadership last year. I think that's one of the biggest things I'm seeing so far. They're bringing in leaders.
All right, so we'll elaborate that here in a second. Talk about the coaching too, but I wanted to ask you about the 2 receivers they brought in. The kid that was on the Biletnikoff Award list, and the Miami of Ohio, right? Miami of Ohio slot receiver who's a fucking water bug, bro. That kid can fly. And I was watching his highlights, and I was like, "Holy shit, this kid can get it." Didn't Schmitty go to Miami of Ohio?
Ball State.
Ball State. All right, that's the same fucking thing, you know. He's gonna love that. Talk about the two receivers losing Miller to Arizona State. Obviously, that one stings more than any of the other ones because they're a rival. But you know, good for him, I guess. Congratulations. I hope we beat your ass. Talk about the two new guys.
Well, real quick on Omarion. I like Omarion, good kid, obviously talented receiver. What was his weakness?
Probably blocking.
Yeah.
Blocking.
I thought there were a lot of plays this year that I would watch. It's like, oh, that was a big play if Omarion makes that block.
Well, to be fair, they came out and said they don't
practice it.
Exactly. But Jace Phillips also said that's a want to. There wasn't a want to there. I know this with Brendan Marion. He has stated with his offense. I think one of the tenets of his offense is, how you play without the ball.
Without the ball, yeah,
says a lot about how you feel about your teammates. I'm paraphrasing what he says there, but he's talking about wide receiver blocking. When you're asked about these two receivers, these are guys that, when I go back to what I said before, Brendan Marion's picking these guys. Brendan Marion sees these guys and says, yep, they fit my offense. There's something he's seeing there. And we can look at the stats. The stats are awesome from these guys. Brendan Marion's watching all their tape. He's seeing whether these guys are blocking or not. And he's seeing whether they fit his offense. And that's one, both those guys are guys I look at and say, if Brendan Marion wants him in his offense, great. I trust you. I'm going to take you up on that one. And, you have to love the production. I mean, Scudero led the country in receiving yards. The last time CU got a receiver that led the country or was top in the country in receiving, his name was Ajante Wester. How'd that work out?
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So I'll take that. I like these two guys. I think they're better at receiver now than they were at the end of the season.
Oh, okay. Shit. I'll take that. All right, Bailey, you got anything else before we wrap up Brian here for a second?
They brought in Josh Niblett, former Georgia high school state head coach, over almost 300 wins, I believe, in his career. He also coached Hoover High School in Alabama for 14 seasons. I believe they bring him in as the tight end coach. He visited Prime in the spring. What are your thoughts on this new acquisition in the coaching room?
Yeah, I love it. I don't know much about him, but again, we were talking about the players want to prove themselves at the next level. I see this as the same thing with a coach, right? You've been coaching high school for a long time. You want that challenge of let's see if I can do it at the college level. And he's talked about Coach Prime, has been a friend of his for a long time. I love bringing him in here. And you know what else it tells me is, like Marion, this is a guy that might like recruiting because he knows high schools. He knows high schools in the South where they love to recruit. And so now all of a sudden you got a guy that knows that area really well and has a lot of contacts down there. That's another feather in your cap for recruiting. And so I love it. And I'm curious to see how the tight ends are used in this offense. We know they haven't been featured much, but Marion runs a lot of 11 and 12 personnel. So I think it'll be more than we've seen. So I'm curious to see what he does with that. But I love the recruiting aspect of it and the fact that he's got connections down south in high school, in all the high schools down there. So that's huge.
I'm telling you, with Atkins and Big Zane D'Souza, who's Dungeon Family, the Loveland kid who redshirted last year, who's 6'7", probably 270, can run. They got tight ends. They got guys that can go mash face. So I hope to see more 12 and 13 personnel. 12 personnel is my favorite personnel grouping on earth. You can really fuck some people up with 12 personnel if you do it right. All right. Full circle back here to the coaching part. I feel like Marion, after talking to him and meeting with him, I feel like he is the coach of the offense. He's going to do the practice schedules. He's going to make sure everything's running correctly the way he wants. And Coach Prime is going to step into more of a CEO role, overseeing everything, being the last say in recruiting, being the Coach Prime's there to fucking seal shit. He's there to win. He's there to make sure they win on recruiting, they win on the field. How much do you think Coach Prime's going to lean on Coach Marion from a perspective of game management and things of that nature too? Like, where do you feel like that relationship specifically is going to go?
I think that'll be interesting to see how that evolves as they go about the spring. But he's clearly bringing in a guy that has developed his own offense, and so he's going to lean on that. And so I think he would trust him quite a bit. I mean, this is a guy that's been a head coach at the college level now and has a lot of experience. And I'm curious to see how that evolves. I think always the head coach is going to be the one to make the big decisions, but I would guess that he's going to rely on Marion quite a bit, and probably Livingston as well on defense. Look, I'm not down on Livingston. I think they missed a lot on guys on defense. They had some injuries. I still think he's a pretty darn good coach. I think they got two really good coordinators, and Coach Prime, I love him being the CEO over all that. I think he is, like you mentioned, he's going to be he's going to have his finger on everything, and he's going to I think he's going to go over everything with a fine-tooth comb much better than he did last year, and is going to gatekeep a lot of things. And so I like it. I think they got two good coordinators in place right now.
From a recruiting perspective, the right when Marion got the job, I met with him a week later. He's very open and responds and wants to build a wall around the state of Colorado. I met with Oregon on Monday night for 3 hours. There's so much talent here.
Yeah.
I believe him when he says that. Do you believe them?
I believe him. Executing it is different. I think that this state, for so many years, and you know this better than anybody, and both you guys do, that the top talent has not stayed here for a lot of reasons. I think there's a lot. There was how many years I used to come down to your gym all the time and talk to some of the top guys, and a lot of those guys just were not from Colorado, so there was no real tie to the University of Colorado. They didn't grow up watching the Buffs, and sometimes even if they did, there's just a lot of kids, football players or not, that just want to go somewhere else. I've got 4 kids. I've got 2 that are in college right now. Neither of them are in Colorado. They're both in Utah, and they want to go somewhere else and experience something different. I know a lot of kids that just, if they've been in Colorado forever, I want to get more than 45 minutes away from my parents. And so that's tough. And when the football team up there is not Ohio State, it's a lot easier to say, I want to go somewhere different. And so I think you're fighting a lot of that battle. And so I think it's great that he says, I think he means it, but I think it's still going to be difficult to get those players to Colorado. And frankly, I don't think it's going to happen until Colorado's winning 7, 8, 9 games a year.
And there's the next question before we get you out of here.
That's the key. Look, they're not doing it when they're 3 and 9.
In the last 30 minutes, we've been talking about all positive shit, and there's nothing really negative to talk about. I really like the direction we're headed in.
Yeah.
I think I look at our schedule and I put myself back in 2004, and I look at that schedule and I go, we may not fucking lose a game. Let's beat the shit out of all these people. There's holy shit. Now I understand it's changed, but I think the schedule is really conducive to us being pretty fucking good. But I thought that last year. And I think that it's almost impossible to predict whether a team's going to be good or not. I have no idea what this, you want a record prediction? No fucking clue. I have no idea. They could be 10-2. They could be 2-10. They could be 6-6. They could be 7-5. They could be 5-7. I don't know. So I guess my question is, with no preseason and all that kind of shit, no warm-up, I advocated the other day, and maybe Bailey can just play the vertical for Brian about the wartime spring practices. And people freaked out because they think people are freaking out I don't want cameras recording shit. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't want anything recorded at spring ball when you're trying to figure out who your team is. I'd rather them close the practices and lock the doors and just go to war with themselves. Did you find that clip? Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Here. Sorry, I just got to find it here. Let's go ahead and take a look.
So watch this real quick, Brian, and then let's elaborate on it.
Take a look.
Spring semester, I don't want open spring practice. I don't want anything on fucking film. Nothing. Close the fucking gates, lock them, and go to absolute war with yourself. Listen to what I'm saying. The University of Colorado and its coaching staff for spring football needs to put away the fucking video cameras, not post anything on social media other than what we're practicing today at 3:00. It's closed. Fuck off. Lock the gates. Do your press interviews afterwards and go to war with yourself. Every day should be a goddamn fight to figure out if we got the right guys or not. It shouldn't be some fuck around in t-shirts out there trying to get through spring fucking healthy. Fuck that. If you can't survive it, you can't play here.
Where you at with that, BH?
How do you feel about that? I'm not saying not to show what the university is doing well. I'm saying for 4 weeks, because we don't have preseason, let's figure out what we have, and not expose it to everybody else so they can find out.
And to lock in, right? And just focus on football.
Yes, sir.
And don't worry about trying to be the next well-off media star, right? I like that. I think that it's been fun having a lot of that stuff in the first few years, and especially when Travis and Shador and Shiloh were there. I mean, they were fun personalities. You get to know them that way. I think that they do a great job with getting to know the personalities, but I agree with you. I mean, sometimes it does seem like some of those guys, maybe they're trying to show off for the camera instead of just practice. Just put your head down and practice. And so I agree with you in some respects. And just, I think your bottom line point, Matt, is this spring needs to be 100% business. Just get down to it, and just get down to it, and forget everything on the outside. Just get down to business. And I agree with that. I think. Well,
look, let's be real.
Is a huge spring.
I film everything at the gym, so I know it may some people think I'm being hypocritical, and that's fine. I don't really give a shit what you think. I'm saying people change when you put tape on. I can do a drill 15 times with no film, and the minute I say I'm filming this, people are fucking up. They change the way they do things. They start grunting and screaming, and it turns into a show instead of you just did it right 10 times. Now I'm putting you on film to prove that you do it right and you change. I think I think it happens when you see Bucky come up and behind you at the one-on-ones or something like that. Everyone's fucking butthole puckers up and they're like, oh my God, I can't screw up on film. And then all they're thinking about is screwing up, and they screw up. And then it gets put on social media and the kid gets persecuted, and maybe that affects his development. I don't fucking know, man. I think that everything's filmed on game day and everything's filmed at practice from a perspective of being able to study. I am simply saying that I understand it's a big part of it and I like it. But for spring ball with such a new roster and a new offensive court, this is the other thing. I want the new offensive coordinator's debut to be in Atlanta. I don't want the new offensive coordinator's debut and all of his secrets and all this shit on social media, and I definitely don't want it in the spring game. Yeah. So maybe I'm a little old school there, but I personally think that it's an opportunity to kind of flip it 180, and instead of having unlimited access to everything, you have no access to anything. And I think that it'd be very conducive towards the team building. Number one, if you think they're popular when you're getting access, restrict access and see how many people are just jonesing to see what's going to happen when it's unveiled. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let me give you a different perspective on that, though. When you're talking about sometimes a guy can do it 10 times right, and then you put the camera on and he messes up. I think from a coaching perspective, I kind of want to find that out in the spring. You learn about some guys that way.
That's a good point. Okay.
And so maybe, if you've got a guy that, okay, he does great, and one guy of the camera comes over to you in the spring practice and you pucker up,
you shit your pants. Yeah.
That's a problem. What are you going to do when there's 50,000 in Folsom? Right. And so I'd like, as a coaching staff, I might like to find that out and say, you know what, this guy doesn't get fazed by having the cameras around him, and so you might be able to find out some things that way. So I can see both sides of that.
That's also a good point. Well, very good point, Brian.
And honestly, you might be able to work on some of that with some of those guys too. Like, you know what, maybe coach that out of a guy in spring before they get to fall camp.
Well, it's almost I can't believe I'm just going to throw straight at old Marcus Jones, but do you remember a kid named Marcus Jones?
I don't.
All right, he was like a 4-star recruit from Houston, and Coach Wilson would come in like right before my junior year, and he'd be like, "Hell, I got a goddamn warrior coming in from Houston. He's gonna take your fucking job, son." And he got there, and he had such a bad stutter, bro. Like we just persecuted his ass because he would be like, "What's up, Jones?" He'd be like, ha, 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 ha. We'd be like, "Oh boy, this is gonna be fun." And then you go out to the bars after a game, and he'd have a couple drinks, and he'd walk up and be like, "What's up, dog? I'm Marcus Jones." And he'd change in front of you, like, "What the fuck? You're over here spitting game to this chick, and you sound like fucking Rico Suave in the meeting room. You can't get hi, I'm Marcus out." So like the film there, the alcohol is the accelerant there. The film is the accelerant for some guys. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some things, some guys see a piece and they're like, "Oh," and some guys see it and they want to attack. So I hopefully we have the right guys, to say the least. I don't know. Sure, film shouldn't really make everybody shit their pants like that, considering everything's on fucking tape. Okay. What are we missing here, bro? Like it's, obviously it's the off season, winter conditioning is about to start, spring ball's about to start, the transfer portal's closed. The team we're going to have on the 16th is the team we're going to have in August. What are we missing? What are we not talking about that we should be?
Well, I think I want to go back to when you said it's hard to predict right now. I think anybody giving a prediction on what this team is going to be is out of their mind, because how do you know when there's 35 spots still open? We have no idea who's yes, they signed 2 linebackers yesterday. That doesn't mean that's going to be their linebackers. They're still going after the kid from Pitt, right? They still need to get corners and safeties and all this stuff. And I think they got 7 offensive linemen on the roster right now. You got to double that. So I think what we're missing right now is half the roster. And I want to see this play out and say, all right, that was the point of my tweet that you referenced earlier was obviously I was joking about that. I mean, I have to cover who's coming and going, but I can't wait. Let's look at it March 1st, February 15th, whatever, and say who's on this roster. Let's evaluate what they have and then put it all together. And then the bottom line is we can look at all this stuff and get excited about all these guys, but we're not going to know until you get to Atlanta. Right. You mentioned that. I mean, that's when we find out because as I referenced earlier, you look at last year and people got excited about a lot of guys coming in. Oh my gosh. We got the Conference USA MVP from 2 years ago. We got all these guys. We got Jaheim Otis was like the top defensive lineman in the portal coming in. People were talking all this stuff, right? A lot of those guys didn't pan out. And so, and that's not to say it won't pan out this time, but you have to wait and see on these guys because when you're bringing in so many players, there's really not a foundation you can look at that's coming back that you say, all right, they got this, this, and this, and this, and this they can build around. The one thing I am happy about, guys, is you look at all the movement of quarterbacks going around college football. Colorado has its quarterback. I am happy about that. I think that's one advantage they have is at least your quarterback. And no, he doesn't have a lot of starts under his belt, but he's a 5-star kid that stayed here. Colorado didn't lose their quarterback this offseason. Julian Lewis is staying here. You've got a nice piece to build around there. I don't know if it's happened while we're sitting here. Jordan Seaton has not jumped in the transfer portal.
And that's what I was just getting ready to say. I got to tip my cap to Jordan Seaton for being loyal. Like loyalty is big for me. And you know what? He's had so many opportunities to leave, and he's not leaving, and he's going to stay. And that's a huge. Having him and Johnson back, we can find 3 guys to fill on the inside. I know we can.
Yeah. And
having the 2 tackles come back, that's a really, really, really big for Juju.
And look, I'm going to hold my breath a little bit until the 16th when that portal closes, because you never know. We know that there's, quote, tampering going on. You never know if somebody's going to talk.
He is getting so many phone calls.
See these people and say, you know what, we'll give you this. And so you can have loyalty until somebody throws a check at you. But I agree with that as long as they're here. When you asked earlier, what are we not talking about? I don't think people are talking enough about the fact that the 2 tackles are still here. That's huge. Chauncey Gooden, who they're very high on, is still here. I think that's 3 starting offensive linemen that are still here right now. And, I'm trying to look at who else. Andre Roy, had starting experience at Maryland when they brought him in last year. He's still here.
He started at West Virginia, right?
What's that?
He started, that was 52, the guy who started at West Virginia.
I think so, yeah. And I know, he's thrown in there for a couple starts, but he's
We've got some work to do. But hey, big frame.
But Yaya, who they really like and is developing, he's still here. That's 5 guys that they really like on the offensive line that are still here. So I think that's not being talked about enough. Is they do maybe have that core on the offensive line, and you got your quarterback. That's pretty good. And to me, I look at these running back and receiver rooms, and they're not done, but I like the receiver group. I like the running back group right now. I like Zach Atkins at tight end, and so I look at this offense right now. I'm like, they got some pretty good pieces here. It's no wonder that what they're doing right now in the portal is, we're seeing them load up on what? Guys in the front 7 on defense, right? That's where they need the most help. And they're going to get more guys on offense. But if you had to roll out with that offense right now, not that they're going to score, 35, 40 points, but I would look at it and say, all right, you can play with that, right?
Especially with the go-go and the advantages that offense gives you. All right, Brian, last question before we get you out of here, brother. The transfer portal, the schedule, college football seems to be just completely ass backwards. Like nothing happens when it's supposed to, and then everybody freaks out at the people that are involved rather than the schedule. If you could change anything right now to move forward, what would it be?
I would alter the schedule. The calendar, I think, is the biggest thing that would change a lot of this stuff. And I don't know who said it. There's been a lot of talking heads that have said things. And I've heard Saban say stuff and that I agree with. The calendar, I think, is the biggest thing. I don't think college football should still be played after January 1st. Have it be done on January 1st. And, start, they call it week 0, make that week 1. Get going with the season August 23rd. That's week 1. Get going. And then when it's Thanksgiving weekend, that's your first round of the playoffs. Get going there. None of this stuff where, what is it? In 2 years in this 12-team playoff, Indiana is the only team with a bye that's won.
Yeah, 1-7.
1-7.
And the other teams don't just get beat; they get fucking stomped.
Yeah, and they don't look good because they've had a month off. That's what's amazing about what Indiana did is they looked incredible, after almost a month off. And why are we giving a month off to these teams before a playoff? That's stupid, And so I would change that and get this thing done by January 1st. Open the portal on January 2nd. Close it. Make it a 10-day portal. And
that's the thing. Tampering's so rampant. Everything's done anyway.
I don't know why it needs to be 2 weeks because these players know if they're going in or not. You make it a week, make it 10 days. Open it January 2nd. You close it January 12th. Get going because you got to get to school, right? These kids want to enroll. And I don't think you're going to see coaches that like pull a Lane Kiffin and leave, while their team's going to the playoff. And so it might happen every now and then, but I think the calendar is the biggest thing I would change. And I would also, it may not happen, but I don't know what to do with signing day either. I almost like do the portal in January, put your signing day back in February, make one signing day in February. If a kid wants to enroll early, fine, let him enroll early. And he officially signs in February. But why do we need 2 signing days? I think make February 1st, make that national holiday again, where that's National Signing Day.
I kind of like the dual signing day thing because you get the Division I guys who have been committed out of the way, and then it gives you 3 months to just for my business to help the next group go 1AA and D2 and lower group of 4. And
that's a
then
good point
sometimes
too.
you get guys like Chad Muma who, Chad Muma was committed to UNC, and then all of a sudden Wyoming offers him the day before signing day, and he's about to win the Buckets, and he gets drafted, and so it is the schedule does need to change. There's no fucking doubt about that. Now, why can't they figure this out? This is supposed to be a bunch of smart, I look at college and I see overeducated dumb motherfuckers everywhere. If there's a problem, there's no way we can solve it because all we can do is think about it and talk. There's no action. And instead of regulation and unions and like the way football works at the pro level, and they had a perfect example on how to make this work. They just said we don't want any rules. Why? I wanted to change too. I agree with you on everything. Everybody wants to change. Nobody in the comments is like, this is awesome. Everybody thinks it's fucked up. Everyone, every coach, every goddamn commentator, every play-by-play guy, everybody on ESPN, everybody here, everyone. Why won't they change it, Brian?
I'll real quick. When C was playing Wyoming last year, I was watching some clips of the Wyoming head coach, and he was talking about, he was with his media and saying about college football. He said, if 5 years ago people would have said, let's try to mess up college football as much as we can over the next 5 years, he goes, they still wouldn't have messed it up as bad as it is. To me, the answer is there's no leader. And let's localize it and go back to CU this last year. Their leader was gone for several months, right? Coach Primus said, I think there's a lot of things that happened that wouldn't have happened if I was there. And it doesn't mean, and it doesn't mean that there's bad people at CU. They were just leaderless for a while. He was not around. There might have been, Matt. I'm just saying, but there's a lot of smart people that were there too, right? But they didn't have their leader around, and that's college football. They don't have a leader. I think there needs to be a commissioner of college football. There needs to be someone leading this sport that says, here's what the rules are, and let's just go with these rules. And you have a committee that talks about it. There's people with a lot of great ideas. Get them in a room with a commissioner, and let's implement these ideas and let's get going. Because I will say,
man, bro.
I want to add one thing, because all this stuff that we talk about that sucks about this sport right now. You know what happens when we get to August and you get up to game day? It's still flipping awesome.
It's still
right?
fucking awesome. Yes.
It's still the best sport there is, even with all this crap that we hate. Saturdays, at a college football stadium are still the best thing there is. And so
it could be perfect if they would just a couple of rules, schedule, contracts, union.
Yeah.
Fixed.
Get those done, collective bargaining agreement, whatever you need to do.
There it is. The union takes care of that.
Yeah.
Hire Nick Saban as the union president.
Yeah.
Shit will get done.
Fix all that stuff. It's chaotic, and they need to get somebody to reel in the chaos.
All right. So now I got one more question, because now we're rolling, and this is the last one, I promise. We have been doing the podcast and talking shop for 20 years, bro. Like the podcast hasn't honestly been around that long, but we've known each other forever.
Yeah.
I have said to you, you've said to me multiple times, I brought up, why don't they just strike? Why don't the college football players understand, especially in today's era where everything's on social media and I can get a hold of a guy in Maine in 2 fucking minutes? How is it that these guys who are all chasing bags and want to get paid don't understand how much money they're leaving on the table because they're not unionized? Collective bargaining is why the NFL makes so much goddamn money player by player, because they're getting paid by every jersey, every hot dog, every beer, every ticket, every fucking TV deal, every parking pass. They're getting a cut. Well, college football, there's 5 times as many teams and 5 times as many fans, and people give a shit and they will spend money.
Yeah.
Well, right now, the college football players are content with getting pennies on the dollar. I don't understand it. Why won't they just not play? You imagine how much money they would lose if next August on 0 week, when everybody's playing, no one played? The TV deals would fall apart in front of everyone. People would be losing their jobs left and right. What the fuck? How do they not understand this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's such a different dynamic, and I don't know all the nuances of it. It's such a different dynamic. I think when you're talking about, it's still college sports. I know it's pro in a lot of ways, but it's still, there's the college aspect of it. And if you strike and you sit out a semester, do you lose that semester of eligibility and you never get it back? I don't know. Do
I offend you because I curse?
No, I've known you long enough, Matt, that when I hear it out of you, it's just like another word.
Brian's my fucking homeboy, y'all. All right, don't talk shit. I'm gonna bust that ass.
Do you remember real quick? I would do podcasts with you for Buffstone a couple years ago, and we'd get ready to start, and I'd say, Matt, radio voice, remember?
No cursing, Matt. Yes, sir, Brian.
Don't forget your radio voice today. And he goes, yeah, I'll try.
I got you.
So yeah, no, I've known Matt long enough. It just rolls off the back.
Well, brother, once again, hit it out of the fucking park. Tell everybody how they can follow you, where they can read your columns every day, all your social media stuff. There's nobody I trust more in our little weird world of Buffalo country than you when it comes to information. So give everybody all that info.
Yeah, go to buffzone.com for all of our copy there. Me and Pat Rooney got the Buffs covered in all sports. And then at Brian Howell 33 on X.
Man, Brian Howell, thank you, brother. Have yourself a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Shout out to Brian Howell, the Colorado Buffaloes beat writer. We got to call him that because he's the man that's covering Colorado for a long time. And this cat in the chat with the I'm just going to ignore it. Matt, I don't know.
Bro.
Matt,
it's fine.
You and BH go way back. Matt, before we got to your 30-second reaction, because I know we're way over time. John Harbaugh, Ravens, fired John Harbaugh. And he's rumored to be, generating a ton of interest from several head coaching positions, including positions where coaches are still there, including the Dolphins, apparently. Yeah. So where are you at with all this? John Harbaugh fired.
I feel like if the kicker makes the kick, he still has his job. That said, it's probably time to do this. Maybe, I don't know. I think he's an unbelievable coach. He's done a great job of, usually when you win a Super Bowl and have to reshuffle your whole team, you're pretty shitty and people get fired. And he won a Super Bowl and lost. I mean, off the top of my head, Flacco, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, Johnson, Haloti Ngata, fucking like tons of running backs and offensive. Marshall Yonda, Michael Orr. He lost his whole fucking team and they just re-upped. He had the wherewithal with the Sandman Ozzie to get back in the first round and draft Lamar when everybody thought he was a running back. This guy can coach. What do I think? I think the fucking Jets should fire Aaron Glenn right goddamn now and back up the Brinks truck to hire John Harbaugh right fucking now. But of course they won't because they're morons and they'll let him go to fucking Miami or some dumb shit. But yeah, this is a huge, anybody in the NFL who's looking for a coach. If you're the Raiders, there's your coach. If you're the Giants, there's your coach. If you're the Dolphins, there's your coach. If you're the Jets, there's your coach. If you're the Cardinals, there's your coach. I think he would have the pick of literally anywhere he wanted to fucking go at whatever number he wanted. That's what kind of coach he is, and he's good enough to get it.
So we're going to show.
He already turned down the Jets job? Damn it.
No, not that. But there's something pertaining to the Jets that we'll show that we close out with. Just giving context to this. Harbaugh wanted to run it back with Monken and Zach Orr. That reportedly caused issues between, I don't know if it's DeCosta and the owner, but I know that he wanted to run it back with staff. There's a rift between Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh. They weren't on the same page. Plenty of other players agreed they didn't want to play for Harbaugh as well. So basically, in essence, people are saying he lost the locker room, which is crazy. And obviously, he's getting a bunch of calls about his job. We'll see where he goes. Speaking of your Jets, though, they're not worried about anything. Your general manager was asked about next season, and he expects.
Listen to this high shit. This guy's
and Aaron Glenn's just sitting there. He doesn't say nothing. Just take a look.
Respectable. I believe we can be competitive and respectable right away next year.
What gives you that? You said you have more confidence now than ever. What gives you the confidence?
Because I've been here a year. I've learned a lot. We've learned a lot. I've got a clear vision. AG and I, like we said, we talk daily on this roster and the vision in this division. And with the assets we have moving forward, the draft capital, the cap space, I know we're going to continue to build and add good players to the team that are going to help us win.
Agree or disagree, Matt? Factor cap, what do you got to say to that?
I'd have more respect for him if he got up there and said, we just had the worst season ever. We are absolutely fucking terrible. Everybody's job is on the line, including mine. Yes, we have draft capital and cap space, but why the fuck would anybody want to come here? We need to make the New York Jets a desirable location again instead of just a place where fucking quarterbacks go to die. We have the second pick. We've notoriously fucked up drafting quarterbacks. In fact, the guy we drafted third overall, Sam Darnold, is now starting the NFC title game for the Seahawks. Sorry, it makes me a little angry. We haven't had a good fucking quarterback since Ryan Fitzpatrick, and that's even fucking pushing it a little bit. There's no fucking faith in the institution. We changed our uniform from the cleanest shit I've ever seen in my life to the 1980s version of the Jets. No wonder we suck. The fans are fed up. The stadium turf is a wreck. No one gives a shit, and you should move the fucking team to like Sheboygan or some shit and call them the Sheboygan fucking shit houses at this point. So, yeah, I think he's lying and full of shit, and he's going to be fucking fired with Aaron Glenn, who obviously sat there and was like, this guy's fucking crazy. He's putting a ton of pressure on me. Both these two just need to get fired. They need to clean fucking house, dog. The way they cleaned house with the players is the same way they need to clean house with the coaching staff and the people running the team. And honestly, Woody Johnson needs to sell the fucking team.
What do you do about Woody and the baby oil, Matt? What's the next
Woody,
with that?
baby oil Woody is the fucking problem, bro. That guy, like, Woody Johnson is slappable, open hand slappable. Like I love Fireman Ed to run up there and go Jets, Jets, and just fucking slap the shit out of him 3 times and see if he wakes the fuck up. I think they have the potential to be worse next year than they were this year, which is saying something because that's literally the worst professional football team I've ever seen in my life. And I was on a Jets team that went 4-12. And it like that team I was on would beat this team by 40 fucking points. That's how bad they are. So with the exception of the 2 pass rushers and Breece Hall and maybe Garrett Wilson, because what's the point of having a receiver if you can't throw the ball 5 feet? I think the entire roster is terrible, and they're setting themselves up for failure again. The Patriots are good again. We missed that window. Buffalo's going to be good as long as Josh Allen is there. They're moving into a new building. We missed that window. And Miami is at least aggressive and trying to change things and win. The Jets are just sitting back saying, well, we've accumulated a bunch of draft picks, so we're going to be pretty good. Who's making the picks? Because at this point, they're just going to like pick whatever the best quarterback is on the board, regardless of fit. Let's pick him with number 2. Best player. I don't care about the quarterback position right now. I need you to build your football team and then go out and spend fucking as much money as humanly possible to get a veteran and then draft a young guy next year, because Mendoza and Dante Moore and all the guys in this draft are not it. I know Fernando's a good college quarterback. I know Dante Moore looks like he's got his shit together at Oregon. Dante needs to go back to school, and Fernando needs to go number 1 to the Raiders so the Broncos can eat his ass alive for 4 years before he gets cut.
How would it make you feel if the Jets, because I saw a mock draft where Jordan Tyson is top 5. How would you feel about that? Wouldn't that be fitting?
If they drafted Jordan Tyson, I love Jordan Tyson. He's a great fucking player. But why? What the fuck do we need another receiver? This is my point. Yeah, this is what the Jets would do. The Jets are either they're gonna like draft a fucking like, let's see. I remember the big tight end Kyle Brady. I remember they drafted Kyle Brady from Penn State back in the day, and everybody in the room was like, what the fuck? This is the same fucking franchise that drafted Ken O'Brien over Dan fucking Marino.
Yeah,
Dan Marino, man. So yeah, I have no faith whatsoever. There was a time where they used to draft really well. I mean, when I was with the Jets, we took Nick Mangold, God rest his soul, and DeBergashon Ferguson in the first round. We took Darrelle Revis in the first round. That's two of those 3 are fucking Hall of Famers. I mean, you can make an argument that if Britt played a little bit longer, he'd probably be on that ballot too. So that it's not like they can't draft well. They're just in a pit of hell, bro. And they've been there for, I mean, the last time I can really remember the Jets being competitive at the end of the year was Fitzpatrick, Brandon Marshall. I think they lost to Buffalo the last game of the season, and it kept them out of the playoffs in like maybe 15, 16, something like that, 17. That was the last time I've seen a competitive Jets team. Other than that, it's embarrassing. It's fucking embarrassing. So, no, I don't believe the GM. I don't believe anything this fucking douchebag says. Nothing.
Yeah, we'll
can
see.
We trade the GM? And this is the other thing. I think
they're drafting a quarterback too. But
why would you? Well, if you're a quarterback, I would say no. Like, I would say no to the Raiders, and I would say no to the Jets. And I would say no to why would I go to the Raiders, Jets, or Cardinals if I'm a top 3 pick at quarterback? Why? So I can fail and you cannot support me and I can have 4 different coaches? I'm sorry, but this just go where you get drafted thing, that's cool in the 3rd round. But if you have the ability to dictate where you can go in the 1st as a quarterback and you don't do it, then you have to deal with what comes with that, Josh Rosen.
Facts. That's what it is. We'll see. I think we'll get more of a determination on where they'll go with their pick once the playoffs play out and see how Dante Moore plays against IU on Friday. But Matt, good show here. We'll be back tomorrow to really preview Miami versus Ole Miss, because I don't know how Matt feels. I think Miami's going to win that. I think Miami's going to win that thing.
I am taking Miami as well. I can't wait for the game.
We'll talk about FanDuel and other things tomorrow as well. But and we got a ton of college football news, et cetera, to cover. Your Broncos. I can't wait to have a certain question to ask you as your quarterback coach, 31 years old, Davis Webb's interviewing for a head coaching job. So that's interesting. And then so much more. But Matt, any closing thoughts for you guys? It was a tremendous show. Great having the Colorado Buffaloes beat writer, longtime beat writer Brian Howell join the show.
Yeah, thanks to Brian. Always does such a great job. Consummate professional. Thank you to you, Bailey, for all the work you do. Everybody in the comments, good, bad, or indifferent, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. We'll be back tomorrow to talk more about all this shit and preview the playoff games and the NFL playoffs this weekend. And this is the best time of year for football. And I'm pretty fucking pumped up. So have yourself a great day, fellas and ladies and gentlemen, and ladies. Have yourself a good day. Ladies, gentlemen, have yourself a wonderful day.
Have a great day. 0 to 60, the premier show for Colorado Buffaloes football coverage. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Peace. Go Buffs.